Hey everyone, this is Jeff from Atlantic Woodsman. Today I'm going to show you how to add an actuator to a 1025R, John Deere 1025R tractor, and allow you to control the chute. I hope you enjoy the video and find it useful. If you like it, I'm going to be doing another video showing the same procedure for my 3039R John Deere tractor. Thank you. Hi everyone. I just got my package in from Firgelli Automation. Firgelli makes an actuator that I plan on putting on the chute for my John Deere snowblowers. I have two John Deere tractors. One is a 1025R with a 54-inch snowblower, and that's at my house. And I have a 3039, a newer one, that comes with a 60-inch snowblower up at my camp. Let's start by seeing what came in the package. So we have two of the classic rod linear accelerators. I'm just showing one of them here. We've got a rubber boot that actually goes on each actuator for added protection from the elements. So if you get salt and stuff in your area, it's probably good to have that. I think it was only like $8 or $9 for that. There's a momentary rocker switch that will allow the chute to either go up or go down, and it goes back to the neutral position. And there's also two of these. I bought for each of the tractors. I got two of these MB1 brackets. I'm going to take that stuff out, but I wanted you guys to see they did a great job in packaging everything up and making sure that the moisture wasn't going to get in there. These pieces here were all in this padded package at the bottom of the box, and everything came in great shape. So the actuator is a 12-volt, 125-pound actuator with a 4-inch stroke. If you got a different type of blower than what I have, you might need a little bit different length. Firgelli was great in saying that I have up to 30 days to return or exchange the actuator. So if I ended up with the wrong size, I can do that, but I think I'm going to have the right one to fit both of my blowers. So I also ordered these add-a-circuit fuse adapters. You get a whole bunch of them, different sizes and styles depending upon what kind of fuses your tractor might take. So I know that one of these, this one here I believe is the one that's going to work for the 1025R, but I'm not sure what or if I can use this in the 3039R because they've got a close fuse box design, and I haven't really looked to see if I can get in there and route another wire in, but we'll figure something out. So basically what you would end up doing, and we'll show you how we did it, but basically you put this in where a fuse would normally go, and then you can put the first fuse that goes to the one you had just replaced would go in there, and then the other one would go in the other slot. And the second fuse is what's going to be used to protect the circuit going to your actuator. In addition to that, I ended up ordering a couple of these, one 6-foot, one 15-foot, and I got a couple more on the way. These I used in a different application, and they work pretty good, so that you can basically take them and connect them together to give you an extension. And so I used it for my ice spreader. But in this case, I'm just going to use these. I'm actually going to cut them, and it'll be a quick disconnect for me when I am putting the snowblower away for the rest of the year. And I got some other 16-gauge wire that I happen to have laying around, red and black, that I'll be using to make a jumper harness. And obviously you need a few tools. I don't got them all laid out here yet, but you know the biggest one is really the tool for stripping and crimping on the pieces of wire. So I'm going to start by putting the rubber boot over the actuator. Get it the right way here. And it's going to take a little bit of work working it down here. Okay, this was a little bit more challenging than I thought, putting the boot on. partly because it's tight for a reason so that nothing gets in there. But basically you start by putting this piece on first. It has to slide over the top, and you really got to spend time working it with your hands, getting it to come down, and at the same time lifting here and pulling it over. So probably took me about 10 minutes to do it, but I think I got it in pretty good shape. When you get it down close to the bottom, then you got to get the cord to go through the little area down, little hole down here that's made for that. But everything seems to fit real tight and real snug, so you're covering up the places where the actuator was actually assembled. And then there's this little piece on top that's a small boot to go over the top piece as well. So basically I got to make a three-way jumper. I've already attached female spade connector on one end of this, but I just want to show you how I plan to do the heat shrinking. So I'm going to start by putting this bigger piece, which will go over the end there, and then after I've shrunk that, I've got a smaller piece that hopefully will go over top of both this one here and the wire itself, and then hopefully it'll be watertight at that point. I don't think it has to be watertight, but that's what I'm doing. I'm going to heat shrink this. Just trying to use this new gun so we'll see how it works. Well, it looks like I don't even need that other piece. It looks like it shrunk up perfectly around the wire. So what I've done is I've created a three-way jumper, and this is what the directions or the video on the Firgelli page said. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect. You basically cross over the cable. So I'm going to put one there. One there. Give me a second here. And then this is kind of the way it looks. And then we're going to put a black one here and a black one here. And then these pieces are going to connect in to the actuator on the front end, and I'll make an adapter for that. I'm going to start by taking this one bolt out here and then taking the side panel off. Okay, this you can see is, after removing the panel, the side panel, you can see the fuse box in here. And what we're going to do, and once again, I'll put a link to the other guy's video who also showed how to do all this, but basically this blue fuse down here, what we're going to do is we're going to pull that out, put in the fuse adapter. It allows me to put in two fuses and have two different circuits off of it, and then the one will run off that 15 amp fuse, whatever's on that already. To be honest, I don't even know what that is, but then the other slot will be used for our actuator. So what I did here was I'm routing the cable that I am going to use, that is going to connect to my switch, that is going to run up towards the actuator, and I drilled a hole on the left side, if you're sitting in the vehicle, through the wall there. I don't want to call it a firewall, it's made out of plastic. I don't think it's a firewall, but in any case, and I came on this side. There was a little tiny hole there already, so I could see through it to see that where I was drilling from the other side to make sure I was going to be lining it up right. And then that just gave me a pass through here for this cable all the way to the front where the blank was, where I'm going to be putting my toggle switch, or momentary switch I should say. So what I did was I ended up, this was on one of the ends. I don't know if you can see it. It's one of the cables that I have. It's a black and white, I'm sorry, a black and red cable. And what I did was I cut that end off, and after I passed it through, I ended up with excess on this side. I could tell I was going to have excess. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this piece, I'm going to attach to the piece that I had run through, because that way I can just have a little stub hanging down when I'm done. And in the summer, when I pull out my these hydraulic lines, I don't got to worry about carrying that with me. So I just tie wrapped it. I tried to be careful to make sure I wasn't tie wrapping into anything hot. I just kind of followed some of the other wiring path that was already in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and fuse this into that with these little heat shrink barrel connectors. And then once I get done with that, I'm going to slide this piece of shrink tubing over the whole thing and seal that up. So I'll have a nice tight connection when I'm done. So I don't know if you can see there, I've got this, here's the piece that's the end that's attached here, the quick attach. And you can see where I did the heat shrink around that and attached the connections in underneath there. So over here by the fuse box, I ran my power wire, which is going to connect into the fuse box, and I ran it through there was actually an opening there already. Someone else had run another wire for, I'm not sure what that one was for, and took and ran that along the same path that I had for the first set of cables, and actually was able to tuck it underneath the tie wraps. I didn't wrap it that tight. And then if I go to the other side of the tractor, I came through that same hole that I had drilled in the firewall, and you can see I haven't cut it yet, but that red cable that's hanging there. So all I got left to do is the negative. So my negative power cable here, I actually ran out through the same hole. Fortunately, I made it big enough. And the only difference is this one I actually ran right to the battery. So I went down here and tie wrapped it to this metal support piece. And then there was already this purple wire that was running up towards the front, towards the up by the battery. So I just kind of followed the same path, and you can see there was a place down here for it to go through it. Just be careful. I got to cut this after, but be careful you don't have it up against the exhaust, because that might get hot and then melt the wire. And then on the other side here, you can see I haven't tie wrapped it up yet, but you can see the wire coming in here. And then I put on a terminal connector, and obviously everything I shrink, I use heat shrink. You know, obviously it's a negative, it's not quite as important, but I do it anyways, and I ended up putting that on. So that should be the last piece other than what's inside the tractor. So the next step is really to wire in the fuse adapter and to get this stuff all tied off, and then to the switch, and we'll be all set. Okay, so today we're going to put on the actual actuator onto the snowblower, and I'm going to start by removing this tightener and just putting in a bolt like there is on the other side, with a nyla washer, or nyla bolt, so that it can spin freely. So unfortunately, John Deere uses metric everywhere. I'm only saying it's unfortunate because I did not have a nyla nut downstairs. So I did have a galvanized replacement bolt. They used a carriage bolt. So I'm going to do the same thing here, and hopefully it'll last a while with the and not rust with the being galvanized and all. So the goal here is to tighten it up enough that it is still somewhat loose, so that we'll be able to move it up and down with the actuator. Okay, so this hole right here I actually drilled out a little bit bigger in order to, I ended up getting a bolt. It didn't come, the little M1 adapters didn't come with a bolt, but I figured I'd rather have it tight than loose. So I got one that fit and I drilled out the hole to kind of match. So I had a choice of 2 bolts, and if you're wondering why I don't just go out and get the correct bolt, well, we had a whole lot of snow last night, and obviously this is not ready quite yet to go out. So I'm going to start with the longer bolt, and it's just going to be sticking on the inside, and I'll probably get a shorter one for here too. But for now, I'm going to go with what I've got and see how we make out. Okay, the one thing they did do is they actually had this so tight in here with this bracket that I got to use my Irwin vice grips here in order to hold it, because I can't get a wrench in there. But fortunately I don't have to get it extremely tight. Okay, now this just connects up with a pin that they provide. And I'm not going to put the, there's a cotter pin that goes in a little hole here, but I'm not going to stick that in until I'm done. Yeah, let's see how this lines up. Okay, so what we want to do now is I'm going to stick the pin in the other one as well. It looks like it's got to turn this way in order for the bracket to line up. Geez, that hole looks like it might actually go in. Nice. The only thing I'll have to do is drill that one out like I did the other one. Perfect. Okay, so we'll drill that hole out. Okay. We'll do the same thing. I'm not gonna, let's make sure it lines up, but I'm not gonna do the final attachment without having it disconnected from the, there we go. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect this temporarily so I can get the thing screwed in. I'm probably going to take this right down for now. So I know for a fact that I'm going to be doing the same thing on my 3039R. And unfortunately, I know for a fact that there are no pre-drilled holes, so it'll probably be a little bit more of a challenge getting that all lined up, but we'll get it working. I had a washer in between here, but it slides pretty well without it, and I think it actually sits a little tighter but still loose enough to move. Okay, I think that's good. So now we're going to try reattaching this. I like it this way, that way the wire's on the inside. this, I gotta flip this around. It's not gonna work. Okay. This top post turns, and so you gotta kind of get it at the right angle. There we go. Now, one thing I ended up doing was I liked having my chute, basically this was the maximum from where the position was here with that top hole. They had the second hole here, which still didn't bring me where I really wanted. So I used the bottom hole. I had this attached. And then I basically saw where it would line up and ended up putting a little mark there and then just drilling the hole. So I've got to connect these two wires now, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this. I'm not going to cut any of this up, but I'm going to cut the excess off of the one that runs back to the tractor. Whoops. And then we'll strip and attach these. So add a fuse. Where I got these on Amazon, they give you 3 different types of fuses. You can see there's a spot for the fuse that you're replacing, and a spot for the fuse for the new application. That's one style. There's a bigger style, and then this one's kind of funky. I don't know if I've ever seen this. There's like plastic in between, and so I think this is the one I'm going to end up using. They probably give you, I don't know, 3 or 4 of each type, which is nice. And they also give you an assortment of fuses. I don't know, I'm assuming these are going to be what I need. So we're going to attach the add a fuse to my positive wire running to my switch. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pop out this blue, I'm going to raise the camera up here. We're going to pop out the blue fuse. You can see it here. So then what we're going to do, I don't know if you can see, is we're going to add the first fuse, should be the original fuse. I'm going to put that in there, 15 amp. And get it in. A little tight fit there, but it fit. And then we're putting another one right next to it. I'm pretty sure this is the accessory port from everything I've seen. So I'm not too worried about this thing getting overloaded or anything. Looks like these fuses is a little bit wider. See if I can get that in. There we go. So the only thing that I don't like is the way that it's oriented. It covered up the other fuses. Let's just tuck that wire in there. And we should be ready to test. Okay guys, so I got this finally installed. I made one change. When I tested it, the hole that I had there wasn't far enough up, and the 4-inch rod extended too far, and so rather than break something, I basically put this all the way, that extension all the way up, and then I figured out where this was gonna go and drilled the hole there. So show you how it works. I've got one last connection to make. I ran out of a barrel connector, so I'll do that afterwards, but for all practical purposes you can see how it works. I'll turn the thing on, and then you can see it extending up, and then going all the way down. And that is that. So I've got, I can go all the way up with my chute, and I can go pretty much as far down as I want to. I could have moved this down even further if I wanted to. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a good addition to the tractor, and now that I know how to do it, it should be a little bit quicker on the second one. Well, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you found it informative, please hit like and subscribe, and thanks again.